this whole idea of Stonewall 2.0, a resurgence, a new generation of gay activism, I guess something emulating Stonewall. These protests after Proposition 8 took place across the country, joined the impact, had pretty much fizzled. And you weren't alone. Peter Staley, who was a big organizer and ACT UP, somebody I've known for many years, said the same thing as well. I think your point of view coming from Seattle, because Join the Impact, kind of came out of Seattle, was something I wanted to hear more about, because sometimes I think people, just think of activism and think of New York and think of everything sort of coming out of here. But in fact, Join the Impact was a national effort that began with that woman in Seattle and then just kind of erupted across the country on the internet. Rex Wockner has argued, and you've seen his argument, right, that he's almost arguing a semantic kind of difference, that no, it was a success, it did happen, it was huge, and it's going to have an effect that we all don't know years from now. You're saying, basically, it's pretty much fizzled. Their follow-up just hasn't come through.
And I say that as an admirer of Join the Impact and a supporter. I attended the demo. I was at the big demo in New York at the Mormon Church, and the demos, and I supported the demo on that Saturday, although I couldn't be there. And I ran the project postcard info in my column that I sent out all over the country, encouraging people to write to Barack Obama and ask him to fulfill his promises to the gay community, which Join the Impact endorsed. So I'm not peeing on, I'm not pissing all over Join the Impact. I just think that there's been a series of follow-up events that were somehow presented as if they needed to match the level of participation and enthusiasm and anger and outrage, and that was not possible. You weren't going to get as many people at these candlelight vigils. The Day Without a Gay was a bad idea from the get-go, because gay people who aren't out at work or gay people who couldn't get a day off could not participate. And the silent vigils...
It was just, that was dumb. That was a dumb one.
And the silent vigils at malls seemed a little inane, struck people as inane. Don't bring signs, don't chant, don't tell people what you're doing there unless they ask. And the participation at each of these sort of follow-up events, now we have the January 10th 50 state capitol event coming, it has been dropping off. And symbolically, you have to be worried about, when you do marshaling a political movement, about the symbolism of events. And if you have a cascade of increasingly less well-attended protests and events that are similar to your kickoff event, that doesn't create the impression of a movement gathering strength. That creates the impression of a balloon with the air going out of it.
What do you think is the reason for it? I mean, there was enormous energy after Proposition 8. It caught on like wildfire. This organizing on the internet actually worked to its advantage. Is that the paradox here, that maybe the organizing on the internet is actually now working against it? Because at some point you all have to get in a room and come up with things together. You can't just be living in disparate places.
And you have to guard against the people who believe that a demo in the streets is an ends and not a means. People don't want to feel like they're just being sort of given the runaround. Everybody wanted to pour out into the streets and register their displeasure and happiness and protest, and the numbers were amazing. The protest here in Seattle was enormous. The protest in New York at the Mormon Temple was enormous. And as former ACT UPper myself, it was really heartening. I was talking to my friends and going, oh my God, this is what it was like. And we did it without the internet. This is what it was like.
We spent weeks and months getting a couple of thousand. That was a huge number, a couple of thousand people. To a national protest.
But people don't want to just feel like they're running around in circles or chasing their tails. Like, you need to then marshal your resources, pick achievable goals. Like Peter said, I wrote my blog post to get Peter's back, so he wasn't the only one out there who said a discouraging word about Join the Impact. They need to pick achievable goals so people feel like their manifestations, whether they're out in the streets or doing something else, are moving the ball down the field. Like, just continuing to pile out in public with nothing to show for it.